The previous episode detailed how John used violent methods to force Michael to reveal the traitor. Michael, determined to save his brother, resolved to endure everything and refused to let anything happen. Furious, John ordered Michael's legs to be cut off. Fortunately, the police arrived just in time to discover the situation and immediately took Michael to the medical ward. Chief Bellick blamed John, fearing that they had conspired to harm Michael and worried that Michael might expose both of them. In the medical ward, Michael endured the pain, shedding tears. Sarah, seeing this, felt a bit of compassion. As she tended to Michael's wounds, she asked what had happened, but Michael, even in the face of death, refused to speak, telling Sarah not to ask anymore because he didn't want to lie. After treating his wounds, Sarah went outside to talk to Bellick, hoping the prison would investigate the incident. Bellick lied, claiming it was just an accident. As a doctor, Sarah knew from the state of Michael's injuries that this wasn't true, but without evidence there was nothing she could do. When Lincoln learned how John had treated Michael, he was enraged and wanted to kill John. Despite this, Michael remained calm and advised Lincoln not to act rashly. He reminded Lincoln that John was still a useful pawn, as he had access to a small plane near the prison. They would need it to escape the country once they broke out. But Lincoln said they couldn't be trusted. He also mentioned Michael's cellmate. At that moment, Michael said he planned to keep Sucre around because with something this big happening in prison, there was no way they could stop him. Besides, they needed him to provide cover. Sucre, who was locked up, was barely holding on. Once he was out, he immediately called his girlfriend, but her mother answered the phone. She seemed to dislike Sucre and told him that if he truly loved her daughter, he should stop bothering her. Hearing this, Sucre felt devastated, both heartbroken and angry, and hung up the phone. Back in the cell, Sucre looked at a photo of his girlfriend and reminisced about the beautiful times they had. Meanwhile, Michael was thinking of how to bring his cellmate over to his side. At that moment, Michael was holding a phone in his hand. In another situation, while working at the construction site, Michael tried to secretly hide the phone right in front of Sucre. Seeing this, Sucre, fearing he'd get caught up in trouble, warned Michael that if they were discovered, it would add 2 more years to their sentence. Sucre himself only had 1 year left before release. Michael paid no attention and walked away. During a break, Lincoln stood by the bars and overheard Sucre mentioning the phone. To get more time outside, Lincoln approached Chief Bellick and told him that he knew there was a phone hidden in the prison. Was he really going to betray his own brother? Unexpectedly, he gave up Sucre's name. Bellick immediately went to question Sucre, threatening to take away his visitation rights with his girlfriend unless he revealed who was hiding the phone. Sucre, worried about his girlfriend, faced a dilemma. Would he betray Michael? Sucre had been saved by Michael before and had not yet exposed the fact that Michael was hiding a phone, but in order to repay him, he needed to make a phone call. Michael handed the phone to Sucre, but Sucre soon discovered it was a fake. Furious, he lashed out at Michael, accusing him of causing him to lose his chance to see his girlfriend, all for a bar of soap. It turned out that the brothers had orchestrated this to see if Sucre would betray them. Sucre's loyalty greatly pleased them and they revealed their escape plan to him. However, after hearing it, Sucre couldn't accept it. With only 1 year left before his release, he didn't want to take such a risk. This left Michael in a very difficult position. Back in the cell, Michael saw Sucre hurriedly packing his things. Now that he knew about the escape plan, Sucre feared getting caught up in it. He said he wanted to switch cells. No matter how much Michael tried to convince him otherwise, Sucre remained determined and left without looking back. As for John, his former ally came to threaten him once again. He still didn't know exactly who the traitor was, and his displeasure was clear on his face. John said that he had already cut off one of his toes, but the man still refused to talk. The former ally told him to use other violent methods. Although John didn't like his temperament, when he saw his own child being brought over, he was ultimately subdued by Cholo's threat. Bagwell, however, hadn't let go of his grudge against Michael. He wanted to continue with his revenge plan and aimed to get the weapon from someone else. Seeing such a sharp object, if it were to cut into Michael, it would truly be a situation where he could neither live nor die. Bagwell, holding the weapon in his hand, was about to rush forward and stab Michael, but John intervened. He said, "We're all heroes here. If he's the common enemy of both of us, why not work together instead?" And so Michael was once again locked up in prison. At that moment, Bagwell, with his twisted smile and manipulative demeanor, looked like a true psychopath. He attempted to make a move, but John struck him in the face, stopping him and restraining his men. Michael hadn't anticipated this turn of events. As he stepped out of the storage room, John extended his hand, proposing a truce with Michael, saying he didn't want to dwell on the past and suggesting they start over. This sudden change took Michael by surprise. Unable to hold back, Michael voiced his demand to John. Once they escaped, they would need a plane. John agreed, saying he could arrange it, but he needed the exact time and place. In the medical ward as Sarah changed Michael's bandages, she said to him, "I can guarantee your safety. I don't believe you cut your own foot off." She urged Michael to report the situation to higher authorities, but he declined her offer of help. Later, Michael was alone in his cell taking out his sharp tool and preparing to unscrew the ventilation grate when he heard footsteps approaching. He quickly hid his tool. It turned out to be his new cellmate who had just been transferred. The man seemed mentally unstable with wide, unnerving eyes that stared intensely, giving off an eerie vibe. Chief Bellick hurriedly told him, "I am glad I picked a new friend for you. Let's hope you sleep more peacefully tonight." During their time outside, Lincoln asked Michael about the progress of their plan. Seeing Michael's new cellmate on the field, he expressed doubts about his reliability. Michael reassured him that there was no issue and that once the cellmate fell asleep he would act immediately. That night, when everything had quieted down, Michael woke up ready to unscrew the faucet. But as soon as he got out of bed, he noticed his cellmate staring at him. Michael asked if there was something wrong, to which the man glaring replied, "I am used to taking sedatives. I had to sleep all 365 days. Hearing this, Michael felt a wave of relief. However, with such an odd cellmate, how could he proceed with his plan? Michael had no choice but to wait until his cellmate was absent, then discreetly removed the sink and began digging into the wall. But after only a few minutes, the strange cellmate returned, forcing Michael to stop and hurriedly restore the sink to its original position. Michael splashed water on his face, acting nonchalant, and casually asked, "Have you ever thought about escaping?" The cellmate responded that he liked the place as it provided free meals and accommodation. "Even if I managed to escape, I'd either starve to death or end up in a mental hospital." He then turned the question back to Michael, "Why are you asking?" Michael deflected, saying, "Someone mentioned it to me yesterday and I didn't know how to respond." The peculiar cellmate quickly reported this to the guards. He was sharp-eyed, suddenly fixating on Michael's tattoos, remarking that they resembled a map or location. Michael quickly dismissed it, saying it's just a regular tattoo, and hastily put his shirt back on. Luckily, at that moment a guard came by to remind the cellmate to take his medicine. After swallowing his pills, the cellmate stuck out his tongue for the doctor to check. Once the doctor left, the cellmate rushed to the sink to throw up the pills, commenting that the medication would make him dumb. It seemed this strange cellmate was still curious about seeing Michael's tattoos again. At the stadium, he called out to Sucre, but Sucre coldly ignored him and walked off. Meanwhile, his strange cellmate wasn't letting him go easily. Those frightening eyes of his kept staring intently at Michael. Glancing at the tattoo on his arm, Michael recalled his plan before going to prison, specifically a piece of paper with a chemical formula for preparing poison. Just then John approached, angry about how slowly Michael's plan was progressing, and said, "We're all in this together." Michael explained, pointing to his distant cellmate, that guy doesn't need sleep for 365 days. "I can't dig the tunnel." John, however, retorted, "Stop giving me excuses or I'll kill you," which only added to the pressure Michael was feeling. Later, Michael went to the warden's office to report that the Tush Mayan work was progressing smoothly. The warden expressed his gratitude, unsure of how to reward Michael. Seizing the opportunity, Michael requested that his strange cellmate be moved to another room. However, the warden replied that inmate transfers were Bellick's responsibility. Michael mentioned that the warden had specifically chosen the new cellmate for him. The warden added, "Unless you can prove that your cellmate is violent, there's nothing I can do to help." Meanwhile, Sucre's girlfriend seemed to have forgotten him, as she hadn't responded to his messages. Later, when Michael went into the bathroom, the strange cellmate appeared again, commenting that Michael's tattoo looked like a specific place. The warden, wanting to thank Michael, sought out Bellick to ask for his help in moving Michael to a different cell. But Bellick, knowing the warden favored Michael, bluntly said, "Inmate arrangements are my job. If the warden wants to interfere, then maybe it's time someone else did this job." Facing Bellick's tone, the warden could only say that after his retirement he planned to recommend Bellick for his position. He also subtly hinted that Bellick should make decisions he would regret later. At that moment, Bellick pretended to act like a leader, but inside he was overjoyed. The scene then shifted to Sucre, who finally had a visitor. He thought it would be his girlfriend, but to his surprise it was his brother. Sucre looked around hoping for a surprise, only to hear his brother say cruelly, "She's not coming to visit you because now she's with me." To make it worse, his brother mocked him, saying Sucre would forever be a prisoner, and emphasized, "You'll be a criminal for life." This betrayal from his own brother left Sucre deeply heartbroken. Back to Michael's side, he was in the prison's material supply room. Following vague hints, he finally found what he was looking for. Based on the pile of formulas, it seemed to be a corrosive chemical. After quickly hiding it, the annoying guard Captain Bellick walked in. Michael raised his arms for a search, and when Bellick couldn't find anything, he stomped on Michael's wound. Bellick warned him not to report anything to the warden. Despite the intense pain, Michael didn't dare to cry out. To save his brother, he had to endure the suffering. After returning to his cell, Michael quickly squeezed all the toothpaste out and hid the empty tube in his pocket. The strange cellmate was very eager to know the secret behind Michael's tattoos. Meanwhile, Sucre, still furious, went to the phone booth. This time he finally got through to his girlfriend and immediately asked what's really going on. His girlfriend confessed that she couldn't wait for him any longer. Then his brother showed up again and she quickly hung up the phone. At that moment, Sucre realized that if he didn't do something soon, he might never see his girlfriend again. That night in the cell, Sucre looked at a picture of his girlfriend while Michael's strange cellmate took the opportunity while Michael was asleep to secretly cut his shirt. When Michael woke up startled, the cellmate commented, "Your tattoo is a maze map. Why would you get a maze tattooed on your body?" The next day during outdoor time, Michael found John and told him, "I need some herbicide." It turned out that mixing two particular chemicals would create a reaction that could corrode metal. Indeed, Michael's high IQ made him a true intellectual. Sucre hurriedly went to find Michael, eager to join his escape plan. He spread his hands out in front of Michael, saying that he could dig tunnels like a crazy machine. Michael replied, "I can't help you get back into the plan right now. After I take care of the strange guy, I'll let you join." The scene shifted to a woman chopping vegetables without showing her face, speaking on the phone with an agent who was analyzing Michael's real motives for entering prison. They had already uncovered Michael's scheme, and the conclusion of their discussion was that Michael needed to be quickly transferred to a different prison. Back in the cell, Michael found drawings of his tattoos all over his bed. The strange cellmate had only seen the tattoos a few times but had gone crazy sketching them out. He even said it was a map of a shortcut, demanding to know where it led. Michael realized that if he didn't get rid of this guy soon, the entire escape map would be exposed. So he rushed and slammed his head into the bars, causing enough noise to alert the guards outside. The prison guard quickly took away the strange and unlucky cellmate. The next day, Sucre triumphantly returned, reuniting with Michael. As soon as he got back, Sucre asked, "When do we start?" Michael replied, "When it's time, we're going straight to the infirmary." Then he squeezed the toothpaste into the pipe. Sarah helped him treat his wounds, feeling a bit heartbroken as she said, "If you keep this up, you'll end up dead." Michael replied that if he got a chance to live until he got out, he would definitely take her out for a meal. Meanwhile, the liquid in the pipe began to bubble. After returning to the cell with Sucre's help, Michael quickly removed the water tank and told Sucre that they needed to drill a hole in the wall to create some noise. So Sucre raised his voice and started singing, which echoed throughout the prison, causing other inmates to stir as well. Taking advantage of the commotion, Michael used his strength to break through the wall behind the water tank. He managed to crawl halfway out and saw a tunnel connecting numerous rooms. He knew that if he followed this path, he could reach the infirmary, the area with the weakest security. The scene shifted to an FBI agent holding a stack of documents, learning from the conversation that this was a transfer request. Tomorrow Michael would be moved. The two men exchanged smiles.